I got a tweet that said, I hope Hugo dies in a car crash, and I hope that the other car has his family in it. So, I'm just trying to play a video game, right? And I'm getting tweets like that. It could get to you, especially when you're in these already highly intense situations when you're playing in brackets. Hearing things like that don't help.
So I think when we were a lot smaller as a community, we didn't have the level of negativity from the outside the public world. But as we grew, of course, the more eyes are on the scene, so there's a lot more negativity. So I think there's a lot of it. I think if you have any sort of notoriety in the scene, you're going to have a ton of negativity on you. So now sometimes it's very malicious, like people hacking accounts. Sometimes it's just like people saying mean stuff. And I think part of the job is knowing how to deal with that public persona.
Of course, yeah. If you're people get hate for different reasons. For me, I like to be friendly towards most people, because I like to treat people the way I like to be treated. I think most people in the Smash community are really nice, but there's a thing where, even in my region, if people win a lot, like if they start to win like all the tournaments, eventually people don't want them to win anymore, kind of like Armada. People love Armada, like especially at first, but now that he's been winning most things, you see a lot of people cheer against him and things like that. And some people get really hardcore about it, like we want this guy to lose no matter what. So then hate starts to happen, and sometimes it happens for sure.
Mostly it's like people online, like in the Twitch chats when they're watching the videos, or on Twitter, or like YouTube comments. Mostly it's people saying like, F this is so stupid, or like calling it like mean names, or saying that like I'm a fraud or a bad player or no skill, and like there are more intense things where people say like worse things, but the majority of it is like that level of stuff.
Like it's very easy for others to say, oh, just don't listen to it, don't concern yourself with it, just ignore it, and that's usually coming from people who are not in that kind of limelight, so they actually have no idea what it's like. They've just maybe been insulted once here and there, and like they just say ignore it, which is what these players do. They don't just cry every time someone makes fun of them, but when it happens so much and to such an extreme, it starts to get to you. I don't think anyone gets an inordinate amount of hate other than Ice Climber players mostly.
I would say sometimes people get hate for the characters that they select, but maybe not so much characters they select as playstyle. That's like a big thing, Normally, if you're kind of a defensive player, people don't really like watching the long, drowned-out matches. So people like to cheer against these kind of players. Mainly, we see Hungrybox all the time. Hungrybox especially gets a lot of hate, mainly because he plays Jigglypuff, and with Puff, it's pretty easy to be defensive and wall people out, and Hungrybox is the absolute best at that. So that's like his specialty.
Hungrybox gets a lot of hate just because of the character he plays and his play style. He has to deal with that a lot. Like just this weekend, his account got hacked and he got doxxed just because someone wanted to bother him during the weekend of the tournament. I'd say a lot of Ice Climber players generally get hate, also because their character.
People in general don't like wobbling, at least not in the Smash community. Wobbling is that technique where your opponent literally can't do anything, and some people play Smash specifically to just play to try to get a wobble. They'll do everything they can to wobble, and their whole play style revolves around that. So the main person for that would be DizKid Boogie. He's one of the nicest guys in the community, like ultra nice, always looking out for other people, smiling all the time, very friendly. But he gets a ton of hate because of the way that he plays, and he only fishes for wobbles. People kind of hate that kind of stuff.
There isn't really anything else in Melee like that. All the combos move around the stage, and you have chances to get out of them. But with Ice Climbers, you can just kill people that way pretty easily. And so people really don't like that. And I use it a lot, so I've gotten a lot of hate for that, for sure. I went through a couple of different phases with it. At first, I had a lot of my friends telling me, like, don't worry about the haters. Like, they're all scrubs. They don't count. They don't matter. And so I tried to just sort of ignore them. I feel like that kind of let them get to me, because I feel like when you ignore something, it gives it credibility, because it means that it's something powerful enough that if you were to pay attention to it, it would really hurt. So I feel like that kind of backfired, and I got really self-conscious a lot. I started to like believe what people were saying about me. It was actually this tournament 2 years ago at the Big House, where I had like a a really rough time just dealing with all of that.
I like to just play through it, and I like to prove them wrong. Some of it is kind of a goal for me to just prove them wrong. An easy example is what Mingo did when he would get a lot of hate for playing Jigglypuff, and people thought that he was only winning because of the character. He switched to Spaceys, to Fox and Falco, and he started beating everyone for it to just shut everyone up, and then everyone gave him a lot more respect after that and things like that. So a lot of it is just proving people wrong. Hungrybox has done the same thing where he starts to play more aggressive and proves that he can also win that way. It's a good way to just kind of tell people like, hey, you have to respect how good I am. And it's not just this one thing that I'm good at, and you all need to stop hating on me. And to just keep winning. If you're winning and you're getting hate because of it, just keep doing it. And eventually people are going to respect you for the amount of skill that you have. And you're going to have your own following of people that really respect it, And those are the people that you should really care about. The people that are giving you hate, who cares about them? Like, they're nobody. Like, what are they doing in life? You know what I'm saying? So I like to kind of just drown them out. Sometimes I like to prove them wrong and just like shove it in their face. But I would say the most universal way to deal with it is to keep doing your own thing and to care about the people that actually support you and want to see you succeed, and not worry so much about the hate you get. You have to put that behind you and not be so stressed out about only those kind of people.
I have gotten a lot of hate, but I mean, I'm really good at dealing with it, I think. I just got an extraordinary ego, so it really walls it out. It doesn't really bother me as much. I think I try to look at why someone had, like, the emotions behind it, and just take out the negativity. Like, why would someone feel that way? And if I see there's some credence in what they're saying, I try to learn from it, and that's the best I can do. But yeah, for sure. I think when I was younger, it affected me more, and then as I grew up, I realized and I got how to deal with it, and I got used to it.
I started to talk to more people about Ice Climbers, and specifically talking to the people who didn't like my character and the way I played it. And the more I did that, the more I understood why people felt so strongly, and I think the ability to empathize with them helps me not feel so bad about what they're saying, because I know they're just trying to express this feeling they have of frustration with how they don't like what they're seeing. And so sometimes it comes out in really harmful ways, but they don't mean it that way. They're just trying to express this emotion. So since then I've kind of just started to empathize with them and understand it, and that helped me deal with it a lot. At this point, I'm pretty okay with it. It doesn't bother me at all. I think it's usually funny, and I appreciate when people have creative ways of expressing, it's like a funny, creative way to say it, but not something hurtful, of course. Well, like I was mentioning earlier, 2 years ago at Big House, I had just a month-long stretch of people just saying mean things all the time. And whenever I would do well at a tournament, more people would see me because I'd be playing on stream more, and so there would be even more hate messages and stuff. And it made me feel like not wanting to enter a tournament, but I didn't ever actually not enter a tournament because of it. It just made me feel bad. And luckily I have a lot of really good friends in the community who have all gone through stuff like this, either because people don't like their playstyle, people don't like their character, or because they're rivals of someone's favorite player, and so they just, a good example is Armada. He's a really nice guy. He does a lot for the community. He's a great player. He's a hard worker. He deserves all of the great success he's had as a player. But a lot of people don't like him just because they're fans of maybe Mango or Hungrybox or someone who's a rival of his. And so anytime he does well against them, people get mad. So and that's totally not something personal, because all these people who meet him, everybody loves Armada, But it's, it can be a thing where people just, they have all these different reasons for it. And a lot of my friends have experienced all these reasons. So I was able to talk to a lot of them and get some good feedback and advice from them and find a way to push through it, so I didn't have to stop entering tournaments.
I think the hardest thing is with negativity is not being a role model. I think actually being a role model is easy. because you know what role models are supposed to look like, right? You know how to fit inside the square box. I think what's harder is to speak your mind. So I think a lot of free speech gets pushed down, and a lot of people's opinions, they're afraid to put them out there because they're afraid of A, getting the negativity back if people disagree with them, and B, even if they're right and what they're saying targets someone else, that person is going to get a lot of negativity. It ends up making us actually more cookie cutter and more basic. We can't really talk to fans like we want to because we're so worried about that backlash.
Just again, I think the empathy is really important, and I would hope that people can figure that out. That when someone's mad at them, it's usually not because it's not a personal thing. It's the way they're reacting to something that they see that makes them feel a certain way. And if you can empathize with that, you can learn how to discuss it with them. I have a lot of friends now who I met as people who hated ice climbers and hated me for wobbling. And just talking to them and hanging out with them and teaching them the character and having a good time with them, they understand that it's just a mechanic in the game, just like everything else is. I think the gameplay stuff, it'll eventually go away as people learn the game more. Like people already hate wobbling less than they used to, but it's tough with out of game things, because like there's no reason that like a female player should have any less respect than a male player. Like all the respect in game anyway should come from a player's skill, but there's always a stigma with different communities of people, so that's the harder thing to get past, and I certainly don't know how to fix it, but I mean there are a lot of good things in place and good people trying to figure it out, so I think it's going in a good direction.
Basically what I'm trying to say is if you have any haters, the hater's going to hate. And you have to just ignore them and focus on the people that really support you.
For all the people who are bashing on either the Beyond the Summit staff or the commentators or the casters, or bashing on anyone who's actually out here putting work into this, actually doing something with their lives instead of staying at home watching a free game on a free channel paid by your parents' fucking internet right now, instead of actually instead of just being there and trying to dissuade people from doing what they love, I have a small little request for all you people.
For
all you people who decide to be negative and decide to shit on anyone here. Go fuck yourselves.
Probably two people out there who are being super negative. I
But
know
all the people
Twitch
who are,
chat
all the people who are,
is all full of smiles.
yes.
You know
But
what
all
I
the
mean?
people who
Shout out,
are
man.
good
Yeah, I've never
and giving
seen any
props to
negativity in
everyone,
Twitch chat.
you guys keep us going. So yeah.